man, that still gets me jacked up listening to that. You know, if you're really thinking about what's being said, I'm just juiced.
Every time.
Jason, what are we going to dig into today? And welcome back, everybody, to Higher Density Living.
I want to talk about source nature.
Source nature.
Which is love and light.
So are you asking about almost like the history of where kind of source took its steps?
Mm-hmm. And this is our law. This is our Law of One series.
Yeah. And part of the Raw books, the Law of One series, how this kind of boils down to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
How could this thing of source, what's the direct chain of events that comes down to us?
But also, in a practical way, and we'll get into this, whenever we see source and we see infinity, and we see how that operates, then we need to operate and model that.
Yeah, because the macro has to operate in the micro also.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no difference, because if you have a difference, you have a paradox, and then you're not in the Law of One.
And if you have something that's infinite with unlimited power, why would you not tap into that?
That sounds like something I want my car to run on.
I mean, we all want high-speed internet. We always want it faster, faster, faster.
Yeah.
What if you had unlimited bandwidth, and all you got to do is just plug into it?
Yeah, or wake up.
And to get rid of the distortions to be able to have that free-flowing.
Yeah, like a distortion would be the actual cable itself.
Yeah, exactly.
The cable, the medium of the cable is not fast enough.
Mm-mm.
What is faster than the fiber optic? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there's two specific sessions within the raw material that we want to focus on that helps bring us into this macro, micro, micro, macro view, okay? These inverse.
And we're going to be talking about love and light.
Yeah, love and light. So
light and love.
Where do those stem from? And so you have section 13.
Right.
Correct? And you made some notes on here, and I still want to bring this up here for what Don or Dan Elkins, I can't remember what his name is, talks. He's the questioner, and he says in 13.5, he said, can you tell me of the earliest first known thing in the creation? It's the creation. It's like just this, this spark of energy. Can you tell me about it? Ra says, I'm Ra. The first known thing in creation is infinity. The infinity is creation. So this is a really interesting concept, right? And to work with this, we're going to require a little bit of the straining of the mind. So I'll try and create a visual here. In order to be something that is the totality of the whole idea of what it means to create.
Oh, yes.
Okay. If you wanted to be able to create everything, just every possible thing, doesn't matter what it is, every variant, every characteristic, every color shade, every different thought, you would have to have no bounds. It would naturally have to have an infiniteness to it. Does that make sense? If you couldn't actually call something creation if it was limited by a box, because then it's not really the totality within itself.
That's why I think it's helpful when we look at terminology, and Ra uses God too, and because whether we like it or not, Jordan Peterson talks about this. Whether we like it or not, our ethics and morals, even if you're an atheist or whatever, has been based off of, especially here in the United States, has been based off of religion.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't help it. The things that, we have monogamous relationships, and we have a paper, and you're engaged and you have a fiance. All of those things are built off of, if we dig deep enough, we're going to find religion.
Social constructs.
Yes.
And they're supported by these religious ideologies.
And so for me, because I was, studied theology and all that, for me to look at God or source or creation, and that infinite, being or beingness.
I think that's more appropriate. I know you're using the term God.
Yeah. Ra uses God all the time.
Logos?
They use God. Let's define this.
Yeah, we got to...
Because they call source God. And I think they're just using it for...
Okay. So, actually, there is no direct thing of God itself. This is quite interesting. Dan or Don asks about principles of God.
Right.
And then in response, Ra uses creator, one creator.
Yes.
Doesn't use the word God.
Yeah.
The only time Ra talks about God is in reference to a historical context of, like in Egypt, about the hawk-headed sun god, right? Horus.
Right.
Or
But
Ra
what
speaks
does
in,
what
like,
does he
a
say about creator? Because that was the one I read. That's really important.
So the question here,
Like the essence of God, is that what he said?
So Don asked a question. He says he's talking about this group called the Nine. Describe themselves as the 9 principles of God. Can you tell me what they mean by that? And Ra says this is also a veiled statement. And by veiled means that there's not a lot of light shining through it. There's not a lot of truth.
Well, a veil also keeps you from the truth.
Keeps you from the truth. And this is why this is being used. So it says the attempt is made to indicate that the 9 who sit upon the council are those representing the creator, the one creator, just as there may be 9 witnesses in a courtroom testifying to one defendant. The term principle has this meaning also. So they are just.
But see, now I'm getting into, because this is something. I mean, this is good that we're talking about this, because this goes right into this. Now I'm getting into something where it's like the one creator. Mm-hmm. Now people can resonate with that. Now it looks like there's, and I'm not talking like God in the sense of like there's a guy upstairs sitting on a throne, a male sitting on the throne. I mean, that's what we envision God, in this monotheistic, whether it's whether it's Christianity,
monotheism, polytheism, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it may be.
But this, again, it's not talking about the direct person. This is talking about a representation.
Yeah, there's not
creation.
a person in the sky.
No, it's these ideas
to worship,
representations of creation.
But the
itself.
one creator, that's interesting to me that they exhibited that way, because that almost seems like a monotheistic God.
No, but think about one. One is infinity in its totality.
Right.
It's encompassing of everything. It's not one in the stance. The thing is, we're taking a material concept.
No, I know what you're saying, like one in a number. I get that. Yeah.
And like a measurement, and like if I look at you and outline you, that's a definition of one.
Right.
Okay.
But their definition of one is unity. Like perfect unity.
In a metaphysical sense.
Yes, I get that.
Not a physical one.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But what I was saying is when there's language that people are familiar with that's embedded in them, evolutionary.
Oh yeah, it's easier to teach something.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Of course.
So I'm trying to bridge a gap between whenever we get into infinity, and we know the symbol.
Sure.
Because symbols always tell us a lot.
Correct.
So we can look at the infinity symbol, and that gives us, it's infinite. We can understand that. We can look at a trinity, and then there's 3 parts, but they're all one. We get all that stuff, from our being embedded. But whenever we look at infinity and it being like this all-knowing, all-encompassing, unlimited power, that gets confusing to some.
Yeah, I know it is. And that's why I'm saying to build this construct in your mind, when Ra is saying creation is infinity, in order to truly be creation, the idea of creating is this spontaneity of whatever, could be absolutely anything.
Well, I mean, we can play the game. We can play this game, and I do this with people all the time, especially people that are atheists. It's like, well, what created the Big Bang? Where did those chemicals come from?
Yeah.
And then where did those? Okay, amino acids and stuff like that, or it was from a different planet and it came onto the Earth. Where did that come from that different planet? What planet was that created from?
Yeah, where's the stuff that allowed that amino acid to actually develop? So what was the thing that allowed the things of that amino acid to develop?
So here's the answer, and a lot of Christians talk about this. I think this is a really, really good conversation. So now we have to have faith.
Ra calls it truth without proof. Let that sink in for a second. I am here. It states, I am here to offer truth without proof.
But for me, there is proof because I can see the creational laws in effect.
The proof is in the logic.
Yeah. The
fact that nothing contradicts itself, and then the application of these ideas are applicable to the macro and the micro.
But also, I mean, because we're going to be talking about love. So you can't logically explain love. Like, I can't logically, how can you logically, as apes and chimps, how can you logically explain you wanting to have a fiance and live the rest of your life against evolution? You see what I'm saying? Because a normal monkey would just want to have as many other little little monkeys that they could have. You know what I mean? I mean, in evolution, we would just
there's an infinite.
You're stronger.
Correct.
These girls are attracted to you, so why not have 10 of them?
Yeah, in a very basic,
So what makes you decide?
Sense.
What makes you? This is very practical. What makes you say, I'm going to spend with this one woman for the rest of my life? That you can only explain that through love.
Yeah, because love has an infinite number of nuances to feelings that can't really be stated. They are felt. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many differences and variants of this feeling. It'd be impossible for me to enumerate all of them to you. This is just a feeling that I, myself as an entity, understand deeply. And it's very difficult to share that through words. That's why the idea of telepathic communication, expressing emotions, being empathic with other people is so important, because a lot of things can't be understood with words.
But so here's what's so beautiful about the raw teachings. When we look at this, we see infinity, we see this infinite energy, love, but it can be explained through awareness.
Well, yeah, it's an awareness.
Because you've become aware to the sense of this infinite energy that you and your fiance have.
But I became aware.
And then you guys mutually, through unity,
right,
created that awareness of each other.
And we had to feel into it, though.
Yes.
And this wasn't just that happened. No,
right.
There was work and understanding involved in something like that.
But that created the oneness.
Correct. And so we have to start at like frame number one of a foundation here to say that, the first known thing in the creation is infinity.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That is your starting block for all. You can't have a limit to something. So if I really wanted to understand love, I could not put a limit on it. Words are limiting.
Yes.
Emotions are unlimited.
Yes.
So to really understand love, you have to open up the sensory feeling beyond the material sense, but also the spiritual feeling of emotions in their infinite nature. Because from that can then help you define thoughts. But there's so many infinite number of variants. So when you talk about love and really understanding the other self, it is moving towards infinity where you're open to feeling those fine spiritual perceptions that are actually occurring through that interaction.
But if infinity is creation, then what you're saying is expressing or knowing itself has to be done through love.
Has to be done through love, because words and just the logic alone is not enough to understand.
Yeah, that's the light part, which we'll talk about love and light. Light is the logic,
correct,
the wisdom.
Yeah, you got light, love, love, light. You have to have both of those balancing things that are happening.
The polarities, yes.
It's that potentiating wisdom, articulated, logical part, and then you have the feeling part, the fine spiritual, perceptive part.
Yeah, I look at light as a physical projection.
Well, light is a physical projection. You talking to me in the way you represent yourself.
Because the love is like this emotional connection.
It's a feeling.
Like the feminine.
Yeah, but how I listen to you, how you speak to me, speak to others, how you represent yourself in the material form is a function of your light, your wisdom. It's your thoughts internally then being mirrored to the outside. That's what it is. So how you project, how you actually fill a room, how people feel that when you walk in and you speak to them, they can feel that light. That light is actually seen with how you are carrying your thoughts and ideas into the material.
Yes.
Is that clear?
No, that makes perfect sense.
So then let's go to the next one, okay? So in 13.6, the questioner asks, from this infinity, okay, this infiniteness, then must have come what we experience as creation. What was the next step or the next evolvement in what was going on? Ra says, I am Ra, infinity became aware.
Yes.
Now that there's just this infiniteness, there has to be a recognition then of this idea of infiniteness. You can't, just having it is not enough. There has to be this self-awareness of this infinite nature. Then the very first construct is made. Now that you've had this thing that had no bounds, the awareness immediately then puts it into a construct. You've essentially created a thought form, an idea out of this infiniteness. Does this make sense? Now I have an idea for what this infinity means to me as creation. Holy crap. I hope I'm explaining this well enough. Okay. And then the questioner asks, after this, what happened? awareness, this frame of reference, led to the focus of infinity into infinite energy. So now that I understand all these things are here, I can now direct a focus of this infinite potential into one specific thing. Now let me channel some of this infinite energy into here.
And that infinite energy is love.
Yeah, and so this is where we're going, and this is how this begins to transition, all right? So you have called this by various vibrational sound complexes, the most common to your ears being logos or love. So it's channeling those thoughts, feelings, and understandings. Just wham, like this is the directed path of how we want to bring that in. The creator is the focusing of infinity as an aware or conscious principle called by us as closely as we can create understanding learning in your language as intelligent infinity. So the intelligence happens. Being intelligent is this idea of the use of knowledge. That's a very intelligent person. They know how to use their knowledge appropriately. It's a very wise manner. So that intelligent infinity is an articulated focus, an idea, a point of reference where we want to channel this energy, this love, this logos, this logic, all these things too. We want to put our level of understanding into this. I want to pour it into this one specific jar. Is that clear?
Yeah. So yeah, I understand the focus part.
Okay. So infiniteness, realizing you're infinite, puts that into a frame of reference. And then within that frame of reference, you begin to focus energy into that frame of reference. All right. So if I can sit here on this podcast and ideas just in spontaneity just come to me, then I'm like, oh, let's talk about that. And now I've realized the idea is here. I bring a focus to it. And then I bring that focus to you. And then we put our
there's
energy,
awareness, then focus.
Yeah, we put our energy into that.
Right.
Oh, I'm aware of that thought. Interesting. Let's bring it up.
Right.
Here's our frame of reference.
Right.
Now let's continue to dive into it. This is the idea of creation happening all the time. It happens in the greater macro, but also in your mind, in the micro. There's no separation.
Yeah, that's why thoughts are creation. Yeah,
That's why it is.
Then if you think about something enough, then it usually creates it. And we've seen this, like
Precisely
let's go in a
right.
bad way. Let's talk about adultery.
Sure.
Like in the sense that you think next thing you know, you're texting this girl this is very practical.
Step by step by step
and
by
then
step.
you got feelings for her, and then you're secretly hiding it from your partner, and then it just goes on and on and on, and then it snowballs. Next thing you know, you meet up, and you're just going to talk.
You're creating these probabilities
Yes.
through your awareness and frame of
But
reference.
you're putting energy to it.
That's exactly right.
You've got awareness on it. And so now you focus down. And so now this thought process is you're consumed, you're infatuated with this other person.
Right.
And now there's this whole, and this is in a negative way,
But
it creates something.
yeah. But
And now you got cause and effect
you're
happening.
disunifying with one and unifying with another.
Yes, there we go.
So are you actually acting in creation? Yes and no.
It's in a negative polarity, but it's still gonna, the laws doesn't matter if you're negative or positive.
No.
That the outcome's gonna be
applies to
cause and
both.
effect's gonna happen.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, it applies to both. So, when you look at that love light, that idea, this is, it's a primal distortion here as these creative principles. If there is this oneness, this infinity,
Right.
and then the second we put in awareness to it, we've now created a distortion. It's like a sphere, and then it's like, oh, I only want to draw with a permanent marker on the outside of the sphere to focus on this one area of it.
So it's like pulling the violet out of the rainbow.
Yeah. So I'm not looking at the whole rainbow anymore.
Right.
I'm looking at a distortion, and a distortion is something that is apart from.
Right.
Okay. It's no longer in, a harmonious aspect.
And this is why light and love cannot be inseparable.
This is why, that's why they are
They have to
inseparable,
be, why they are inseparable. They have to be together.
They have to.
Because now we're talking, and I think, we could get into the light aspect of it. And I know in session 15, because I wrote they cannot exist independently.
No.
It's like learn and teach, same thing. Teach, learn, teach. It's the same principle.
Right. Go through your notes while I'm pulling this up right here on the light.
Yeah. So whenever I look at whenever we see light in a physical sense, and this and maybe let's hop on Wikipedia real quick.
Yeah.
And look up, in a physics format, light. It should give us a definition, because I want people to understand in a scientific way what light is, because it explains it. I've looked this up.
Light or visible light is an electromagnetic radiation within the portion of the electromagnetic spectrum that can be perceived by the human eye. Visible light is usually defined as having wavelengths between a certain range.
Wavelengths between a certain range. And you remember Ra talking about that, the same thing. Like when he talked about love, it's like, this is what in your vibration.
Yeah.
So now we're talking wavelengths and vibration. We're getting into science right here.
That's precisely correct. And because they're all one and the same.
Yeah.
It's just about how do we apply this perception to everything, right?
But I want us to understand when we're talking light, it's not the foo-foo love thing. You know, light is that opposite polarity of love. You know what I mean? You need that positive and negative. There's nothing bad. We always think negative. We always think that's a bad thing.
No, you know what we say about teach, learn, learn, teach?
Right.
Love, light, light, love.
Right.
These things require balance. It's the feeling and also the direct knowing, or like
right.
It's like
the wisdom,
like the masculine, feminine.
Right.
Right. It's the striking the balance between both. Of those.
Neither are bad.
Neither are bad, but they require each other.
Yes, they require each other.
And
that's great.
That creates the oneness or the unity of what love light is, what intelligent infinity really.
So whenever I'm looking at infinity and I'm looking at this stream of light, because that's how I like to picture it, you know, like all creation, this infinity awareness. And so the awareness is focused it. Now I have this unbelievable beam of light, let's just say, coming down. And they talk about traveling, and we can get, you know, I don't want to get too heavy into that.
How do we balance that light?
Yeah.
This is a good question. So in 15.9, the question asks, can you tell me a little bit about the definition of the word balancing as we use it? What is
Because this is the distortion that's happening.
How do I balance love and light?
Right.
Or light, love? How do I balance teaching and learning? How do I balance yin and yang, dark and light? How do I balance polarities? Okay. And Ra says, I'm Ra. Picture, if you will, the one infinite. Can you at least give us something easy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can picture that.
This is great, though. Picture, if you will, the one infinite. You have no picture. That's the comment.
Yes.
If that doesn't just freaking blow your socks off, I don't know what does.
That should.
It says, thus the process begins. Love, creating light. So once you can feel and begin to understand, you become intelligent, and then you can articulate that understanding into light. So becoming love light streams into the planetary sphere according to the electromagnetic web. So remember we talked about light. Light or visible light is the electromagnetic radiation within a portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay? Ra says streams into the planetary sphere according to the electromagnetic web of points or nexi. And a nexi is a combination or a joining of energies, right? Of entrance. These streamings are then available to the individual.
Here we go. This is practical.
Like the planet absorbs it into photosynthesis and all those other things.
Right.
Is a web of electromagnetic energy fields with points or nexi of entrance. So actually, you know, they call them the navels of the earth, where like ley lines cross over. These are these nexi points where light is just really penetrating in the geometric sense of the electromagnetic spectrum and how it's being received from the cosmos. It's coming into the earth at specific points. And some of it's visible to the eye and some is not, because they sit in different fields. Okay? In a balanced individual, as Ra continues, each energy center is balanced and functioning brightly and fully. So that means there's no muddying of the water. There's no, climate change that is reflecting sunlight back into space. Or you don't have thoughts that are getting in the way of this pure stream of, energy, consciousness, spirit, all those good things.
So we're purifying from distortion.
That's exactly right. You got to have that good Brita water filter.
Can I blow your mind right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we become crystallized?
We become crystallized. When you look at a crystal, it allows light to shine through, and through that light, you can see all the colors.
And it holds the information.
Yeah. And like, if you look
at
our
little crystal,
if you look at our storage, IBM, when they came up, Marcel Vogel created the first, hard drive storage devices. They're made out of silicon dioxide, quartz crystal, because they realized that you could store vibrational patterns into the crystal and then receive them later.
Yes.
So if I'm shining light through something that's crystallized, something that's
a focus light,
perfectly aligned, then I can see that storage mechanism. I can see the visibility of it. So if I'm allowing light to shine through me, when I walk into a room and I carry myself in this loving, unifying manner, that shines through.
But don't you think that creation? Okay, this is crazy. Don't you think creation, in its infinite love and light, just sees us like these little hard drives?
That's what it
around?
is. Well, is it not?
Yes.
Creation has
These little crystals just walking around.
your spirit is part piece of creation. Para atma. We used to say this all the time. It's part and parcel. You are the hard drive of creation. It sent you out to go learn so you can evolve and bring it back to source. Is that clear?
Well, that's
like
what
the
happens.
mega hard drive sent all these little hard drives out.
Well, I mean, future. As we evolve, that's what happened to sixth density. You see the love and light come together and become
unify,
one.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you start to move back to source. You become to the creational state in the seventh density. Before 8, you are physically the creator again. You no longer have any identification.
So let's get back into the balancing, because I think this is like blocking, because he gets into
the blockages.
Yeah.
So now the idea is, so we talked about blockages. What are things that could actually stop light from going through the crystal, or you yourself? What could stop these beautiful thoughts from moving through you?
Believing in, the reality that I'm in.
Delusions.
Yes.
Okay. Non-truths.
Yes.
These things are distortions. So Ross says the blockages of your planetary sphere cause some distortions of intelligent energy. So it may be shining through the crystal, but wait, that's not the typical Roy G. Biv. Or why is that brown? Like, shouldn't those be separate? You know what I mean? You're starting to blend the colors wrong. They can't stand alone, but together in their perfect combination, they create that perfect white light.
Yes.
The blockages of the mind-body-spirit complex, so human beings in the third density transitioning over to the fourth, further distort or unbalance this energy. So there might be some blockages on the planet, but also the way we're operating as human beings, interacting with this planet and this creational infinite intelligence, right? This energy that's coming through from source, we're the one also distorting and unbalancing this energy.
Right.
Because we are but a part of creation also.
So the balancing is just healing ourselves back to source.
And healing ourselves heals the planet.
Yes.
Law of one.
Right.
All is one. Think about that. It's the interconnectedness. And then, now that I just said that, Ross says there is one energy. Only one. That's it. It may be understood as love, light, or light, love, or as intelligent energy. Is that clear? I hope I've broken that down.
Intelligent energy, when we look at, because now, we have a different view of what intelligent means. Like, a lot of people think of intelligence as an Elon Musk, being this intelligent engineer, or, an amazing physicist, or, a mathematician. You see what I'm saying? Somebody that has mastered, they put the 10,000 hours in this specific thing.
Yeah.
Where he's using intelligent in a different way. It's using intelligent in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So intelligence in the sense of all knowing.
Correct.
Coming into oneness.
That is intelligence. When you understand the law of one, now you're working with intelligence.
Yeah, not in saying, because this can get you in trouble, because now you're like, okay, I need to buy more spiritual books. I need to have more wisdom.
Distortion.
Yeah, distortion. I need to go to this guru and get this information. I need to go to this one. These are how cults are started.
Yeah.
And then the guru in turn is service to self. And then, you have, I was watching the documentary. I was telling you about it.
Everyone's drinking
the Heaven's
Kool-Aid.
Gate. Everyone's drinking Kool-Aid and they're all dying.
Yeah.
So because they got to get out of this meat suit to meet some aliens somewhere.
If you're trying to leave the meat suit, you're already out of balance.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not seeing the oneness in your spirit and this meat suit.
No,
requirement
because you're put here to have service to others.
That's
so why would you impose on your own free will and take your life?
Why would you cut your probability short?
Right. And then why would an alien impose on your free will?
If they're more further evolved, why would they be like, you need to end it right now? That's not what it is. That's obviously going against free will. That's a bad distortion. That's a negative polarity. It's something that you wouldn't want to follow. It's not unifying. And it's not intelligent.
So when we look at this vice versa, and we look at this light, love, we look at this balancing, we look at this healing, and then, and I was talking to you before the show, when we have wisdom and we don't have love, or we have, a ton of love, what we perceive as love in our limited distortion, and then we have no wisdom. You see the balancing there?
I think we can't use wisdom, because wisdom is saying, I have experience and I have knowledge and I'm applying it properly.
Type in light and wisdom.
You know what I mean?
Because he talks about this, and I didn't write it down. I should have. It's very, very interesting the way he.
So we'll talk about the sixth density in a second, but I want to explain something here. You can have a lot of knowledge, but if you lack the experience on how to apply that knowledge, you can never be wise.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So you could have so much knowledge.
It's an awareness of the knowledge.
You could have so much knowledge and no love, or so much love and no knowledge.
Right.
But if you're wise, you see the balance of both.
Well, it's all about. We'll go back to. I think this is a perfect example in relationships, because I think this plays its role out. You can have so much of a emotion and feeling of love, but then have no.
How do I apply it?
No knowledge towards your fiance.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
You see what I'm saying? So you're just, I love her, I love her, I love her, but you haven't took the time to get to know her.
Then I'm not loving her.
Right.
This is some temporary.
That's where
this is some sort of like temporal, feeling that I have that isn't a timeless understanding of who she is. Is that clear?
Yeah.
If I truly love this woman, love this other self, then I feel into that. I want to embrace all those aspects empathetically. I want to understand the knowledge and those thought processes so I can meet that person where they are, rather than me defining what my love is for them.
Well, it's almost like science separates love. It's almost like it's just all logic, knowledge, and wisdom.
Well, no
and
wisdom.
It's just science.
No wisdom. Science is not wisdom.
Right.
It's knowledge. It's a bunch of it.
Yeah, but I mean, wisdom would be the applied learning.
If our scientists were wise,
it's almost like
we would have nuked ourselves.
You would never hear a scientist say, "Well, part of my hypothesis on this was love." They don't use the L word.
No, they wouldn't use it. But I think.
But what if we intertwine those two together and say, how does this vibration that we're creating here? How does physics play into love?
How does it unify?
Yeah. How does
I can tell you right now, action at a distance in quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
Is unity.
Right.
Regardless of the distance, we are interacting with one another. There's an understanding. There's a connection.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Did he come up with something with light and wisdom?
So I want to talk to you about wisdom, right? So with wisdom, the questioner is saying, just as a slight appendage to a question they'd asked before, what would the rays of fifth and sixth density look like? So I don't want to talk about fifth. Let's just talk about sixth, because it's an explanation of wisdom. The sixth density of a whiteness, which contains a golden quality.
That's light.
That sounds so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I could bathe in that.
Whiteness is light.
Yeah. As you would perceive it. So if we, in our visibility of an electromagnetic spectrum, if you see something of a white and golden quality, that's of a sixth density ray. So these colors
what if you see a golden mask?
Don't start me. What Jason's bringing up is a vision. Vision or visualization that I had during a meditation. So it says these colors having to do with the blending into wisdom. It's a blending into. The idea of blending is this combination.
Right.
It's integration with it, right? So it's blending into wisdom of the compassion learned in fourth density. So it's taking
that's love.
It's taking love.
Right.
And a deep amount of intelligence and bringing them together to become wise.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Right. And that's what sixth density is, right? Wisdom.
Right. So it says then in the sixth, the blending of wisdom back into a unified understanding of compassion viewed with wisdom. So it's not about just having compassion. That's one thing. But then also applying wisdom to the idea of compassion. How is that used together in tandem? The golden color is not of your spectrum, but it is what you would call alive. If that is just everything about this is so poetic. It's so balanced and it's refreshing to read.
No, but I understand what he's saying because of the alive part. That's the true essence of living.
Yes.
Is to have that wisdom of love and light.
Bang. That is life itself.
And you would vibrate at the highest. You would be a sixth density being if you were perfectly with no distortions in light and love.
Yeah.
And love and light.
Would I love to radiate a golden white light? Hell yeah,
That's
I would.
what would happen, yeah.
I'd like that.
You want to shine bright like a diamond.
Shine like
Katy Perry.
Yeah, a golden diamond. You know what I mean?
So when we get into, because I think this is important, and we'll close on this, There's a section on there. Can you type in rituals?
Rituals. Yeah, I got rituals here. Which one do you want?
Where he's talking about polarity and then us being able to learn light and love through rituals.
Oh boy.
Has he got a ton in there? Like I said,
Yeah,
I should have. My notes are. I've had the COVID second shot, guys.
Yeah, so
I
Jason's
was in a flu and body aches as I was writing these notes down.
yeah, like trying to like catch up to where like Jason was. He was like all over the place.
I didn't think there was a ton on rituals.
There's so much on rituals. It's like blowing my mind.
Type in rituals polarity. Let's see if because that's what I was reading.
Yeah, no
I was
problem.
bouncing all around. The thing that gets me is where they have the general index and then they have the little, like the main keywords, and then you click on those, and next thing you know, you're rabbit trailing. Okay.
So this was in, okay, here we go. This is
because this is going to be really.
This is in the later books. This is in chapter 64, question number 6.
Yeah.
64.6, and we'll end on this. Could you describe or tell me, this is what the questioner is asking, could you describe or tell me of what rituals or technique used by Ra in seeking in the direction of service?
Yes.
Right-hand path.
Yeah, that's what I was reading.
Path of service to others, right? I am Ra. It says, to speak of that which sixth density social memory complexes labor within, and we explained the whole idea of sixth density.
Right.
Okay. In order to advance is at best... Oh, man. Is at best misprison. These are tough words. Misprison of plain communication, for much is lost in transmission of concept from density to density. So what is being said is you essentially sit in this prison of thoughts or ideas. You're limited. So for Ra to translate...
He uses the word prison?
Misprison.
Okay.
It's like this false prison we're sitting in.
Yeah.
It's just a limitation. It's almost a cage of understanding. Okay.
That we've put ourselves in.
That we are currently in.
Because we chose to be, yeah.
Right. So for much is lost in transmission of concept from density to density, and the discussion of sixth density is inevitably distorted greatly. So in order for them to really explain everything in its meaning,
yes.
to really explain what golden white light really is,
right,
it's going to have to be distorted for that concept to come down to our understanding of third density.
But that in this distortion, we can understand it.
Yeah, we can understand it, but it takes work.
Right.
And if you really did understand it, you would be sixth density.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this moves on to the next part. I'm getting there.
Yeah, this is a good part.
However, I like this. We shall attempt to speak to your query, for it is a helpful one in that it allows us to express once again the total unity of creation. This is awesome. Ra says, we seek the Creator, uppercase C, upon a level of shared experience to which you are not privy, and rather than surrounding ourselves in light, we have become light. So rather than surrounding ourselves in books, essentially, we are but that book of experience. I don't have to read about experience. I am the experience.
Right.
I'm glad I just came to that concept in my mind. That's awesome. Our understanding is that there is no other material except light. There's nothing else. Nothing else exists except for this one thing.
That statement can be ruminated for a lifetime.
Yeah. You could think about that forever.
Think about that.
Our rituals, as you may call them, are infinitely subtle continuation of the balancing processes which you are now beginning to experience.
So because I want to explain this, because I thought about this when I was reading this, and this really helped me. So a ritual is something that you do to gain awareness. It brings like, if I say I need to light this wood, and then from there I'm going to hold some beads, and then I'm going to do each one and pray.
But every time
and all the beads aren't doing anything. They don't have any magical powers.
No.
The wood doesn't. It's just putting me in the right frame of mind. Maybe the smell of the incense, and then it's keeping me focused with my ADD to count the beads.
That's correct.
So that's how you understand. It's not the act of the ritual that creates the power.
No.
It's the focus that you're giving to it.
And the more focus you give to it, the more refined the ritual is. And then you can look at the nuances within that ritual.
So it's almost like Eckhart Tolle saying, I don't need to meditate because I'm just in that state all the time.
Right.
It's these little, what did he use the word? Like little rituals or
Our
perpetual?
rituals, as you may call them, are infinitely subtle continuations of the balancing processes.
So he's saying this is just organic. It's a natural part of our life that
all
we're just
the time.
constantly.
And we're always refining, looking for the thing that's closest to unity.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this part of the ritual,
balance.
the smallest thing is out of balance.
Right.
Can we rebalance that? This is really beautiful. And now it says, to close this out, Ross says, we seek now without polarity. In that density, they're leaving that polarity. It's just a combination of both. They only have a concept of oneness.
Of love light. Yeah.
Right. Thus, we do not invoke any power from without. We don't call anything from the outside.
Mm-mm.
It's within. What an interesting statement. Thus, we do not invoke any power from without.
It's not needed.
For our search has become internalized. As we become light, love, and love, light, they become both polarities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? These are the balances we seek, the balances between compassion and wisdom, which more and more allow our understanding of experience to be informed, that we may come closer to the unity with the one creator which we so joyfully seek. There's so much pleasure and gratitude and beingness in this process.
But this is, and like I said, we'll close out on this, because I know we're going way past time, but I love, and this is what I was trying to get to earlier, and hopefully this makes sense now. I love the words that they used in human language to understand compassion and wisdom.
Yeah.
Because they kind of broke it down for us. Because we can get into I know what compassion is. Now, whether I display it, but everyone kind of knows somebody's been compassionate to someone when they didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
And then wisdom, I kind of sense this idea of, I may not understand wisdom completely as a third density being, but I still have an idea of what wisdom is.
And how to head towards it.
So
how to refine my rituals of thought around wisdom.
Now they've given me this illumination of, compassion and wisdom.
Right.
And wisdom and compassion. I can get that.
I get it.
Yeah, for me, I got that.
I don't understand all of it, but it gives me a foundation to step off of.
No. So if I'm in service to others and my fiance, and I try to display compassion and wisdom in service to her, what does that look like? Oh, okay. And then I want to do this every day, and I want to make this my ritual.
Yeah,
yes,
bang,
exactly.
Bang,
yeah.
bang, bang, bang. You
so
got it.
How do I show compassion and wisdom towards this person? Because then I'm showing love and light.
And that's when you begin to look at the infinitely subtle continuation of balancing processes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. The work never stops.
Boom, sixth infinity. Bam, we're there. We just skipped a bunch. No.
I'm in here glowing.
Yeah, the gold light. You guys see it?
Yeah. We put a filter on our studio lights.
So love, light.
Light, love.